provides for really creating healthy family life communities, and I think it's great that the applicant has been willing to respond to that comment. And the other question has to do with including in the rezoning area the four 1- and 2-family homes up Colden Avenue. It was indicated at a review session on Monday that city planning staff basically agrees with that request by the part of the borough president, and I wonder if that's okay with your client to remove those 4 buildings.
As a matter of public record, the applicant maintains no interest in any of those 4 properties. So of course, when we approach the department with regards to rezoning, the rationale is carefully discussed, particularly with regards to land use and context. And so for this particular block, you're looking at a block which is very much divided. The 6 residential or residential and mixed-use unit properties towards the southern portion were selected here primarily because they were existing non-conforming, and so those 4 lots were seen as a opportunity for additional, frankly, affordable units and residential units to be added to the area. So on the applicant side, we understand context is important, and so we would never or did not here advocate for any type of adjustment with regards to the zoning district boundary. The community board has essentially come out with strong statements with regards to the fact that there are non-applicant sites here, which may become development sites, and likely they do exist as soft sites on this block. But at the community board hearing, we were very careful to note to them that, pursuant to context and the entirety of the land use rationale, it was important for us to maintain those units, those properties. The Bronx Borough President has additionally evidenced, for its own reason, that those properties be removed. In addition to the fact that we were happy to oblige the larger units, which we feel is a valid goal and policy. We understand that the Bronx Borough President has an additional policy, and that's to encourage home ownership in the Bronx. In meetings with the Bronx Borough President's office, they are very frequently they will point out that the Bronx has very low home ownership percentages, and so they'd like to do what they can to maintain those. So while again the applicant has no position with regards to their removal, we understand the community board and the borough president's recommendations, and so we understand that the commission has chosen to remove those.
Other questions? Then thank you to the applicant team. We will now have a speaker in opposition, Grace Labaglio.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I represent the Allerton Barnes Block Association, the Allerton International Merchants Association, the Bronx Park East Community Association. I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Advisory Board for the DYCD. I attend the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council meetings. I'm a very involved person in my community. So first I'm going to read from the Allerton Merchants, and I'll read from BPECA, and then we'll go from there. From the Allerton Merchants. We are writing on behalf of the Allerton International Merchants Association, Incorporated, to express our opposition to rezoning the area of and surrounding 2714 Williamsbridge Road, which would not only allow for a 9-story apartment building with upwards of 30 units to be constructed, but would also open the doors to other contractors to do so within that zoning area. Other concerns that were brought up at the Bronx CB11 Land Use Committee meeting, which I also attended that, and at the full board meeting, were that the increase of residents without proper parking in the new construct would add additional strain to an already congested area. Current residents are spending 2 to 3 hours some nights circling the area just to find a parking spot so that they can go home to rest. Not to mention our area schools are currently overcrowded, and our community children deserve more than to have their education compromised by them being lost in overcrowded classrooms. It was abundantly clear at both meetings that the majority of the residents in the immediate and surrounding areas are absolutely opposed to rezoning of this area. Those that were not opposed were not from the area that would be affected by this change. We hope that the Department of City Planning will heed the voices of the community as we voice our opposition to the rezoning of 14 Williamsbridge Road. And thank you for all you've done and taking the time to consider our request. Respectfully, G. DeFrancis, Chair, Larry Moriello, President, Veronica Castro, Secretary. And from the Bronx Park East Community Association, which I'm also a member. On behalf of the Civic Association that Raphael Schweitzer chairs, I am expressing opposition to the rezoning on the half-block area comprising 2714 Williamsbridge Road, which would make way for an 8 to 9-story, 35-unit apartment building by the corner of Allerton Avenue and Williamsbridge Road. I attended the Bronx Community Board 11 Land Use Committee meeting where the developer presented their plans for the building and the lawyer.
Ms. Lavaglio, we would welcome your submitting the letters
Oh,
so they
did
can be
submit them.
distributed to the commissioners.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know there was a time, sorry.
No, it's a 3-minute time limit. But are there questions for Ms. Lavaglio? Yes, Commissioner Madine.
Ma'am, I have a question. You made a statement regarding, you read the Allerton Avenue bid and the statement of opening up for other contractors being able to maybe build other buildings. Was that statement made before the recommendation to remove 4 lots was made?
Possibly, yes, I believe so. However, that does not change our stance because besides opening up a domino effect where we get a bunch of developers now, they rezone for one, then they want to rezone for everybody. We currently have rezoning, there's a rezoning issue on Blondell, which I'm not sure if this developer is part of. They're looking to rezone and put an 8 or 9-story building there as well. And again, Blondell Avenue down on Westchester Square, we're having a fight with Road Diet on Morris Park Avenue. They're putting in a Metro North station on Morris Park down on Van Nest and over there. We have this one over here that wants to rezone near our area. We have other developers surrounding us, and we are not equipped to handle the congestion, the traffic. It takes what should take a 10-minute ride or less from Allerton to Bronx Park, the Bronx River Parkway. Now takes upwards of 30 minutes to an hour just because there's so much congestion there. That's number one. Number two, there's the parking issue. Because the city does not require developers to produce parking because we're near a transportation hub, because there's a bus or a train or subway nearby, that gives them right to not have to build parking, which I think the city needs to reconsider that because that's been very detrimental in our area. Our area we are a car-driven area, not a bus and train. You know, people use the buses and the trains, but majority of people have cars. They use their cars. We have homeowners. We have a lot of homeowners, not a low homeowner rate. And also, I've been involved with the Department of Education for years, and we're fighting with them to lower class sizes. Currently, there are no middle schools. Middle schools are oversaturated. There's no plans to build middle schools. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon for pre-K and pre-this, and low-income housing. They like to use that phrase, or affordable housing, I should say. But these are not realistic. In somebody's world, they might be realistic, but in our world, they're not. Well, our children are swamped as it is, are overcrowded. There's no money for funding. The DOE keeps creating positions, administrative positions, instead of creating that. But so there's a lot of problems surrounding us and in our point there. It's very bad.
Lavaglio, if you could stick to the questions so that
Okay.
has.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all
Questions from-
connected. It's all connected. Everything is interconnected.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Other questions? Then thank you for your
Thank
testimony.
you.
Our next speaker in opposition will be Patricia Charles, and I'll just reiterate what the secretary had said at the beginning, that speakers have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia A. Charles from Community Board 11, and we're here to support anyone who wants to come in and build, but we are really asking for them to take in consideration what the neighborhood is in truly need of. we're opposing the rezoning only because, like, my constituent said, there is so much congestion, and even though there are gonna be some, I think, parking situations that will be available, it would not be enough to sustain all of the overflow that will be coming through our area, and you know, for the people that actually live there, and has lived there for so long, it's a hardship on us as it is. Even though I don't live in that area, I'm down the street, I'm around the corner, but we work together as a community to support one another, to help things that are really truly needed in our community. So as the community board, did vote down the rezoning of any projects, only because if we do for one, then it could be a disaster for us if we don't, you know, agree to do it for someone else. So there's a catch-22 where if we do, it's a problem, if we don't, it's a problem. So we're asking for everyone to understand our situation of the overcrowding, the school overcrowding. I'm a retired educator as well. I just retired July 1st, but I still do what I need to do on the outskirts, because if they tie my hands one way, I have to be able to utilize my education and my heart, my professional, my human side of what's needed in our community. So we're asking you to look at those issues and try to make sure that if they were willing to build a parking garage, then it would be helpful for the community, for you to build something of that nature. So I thank you very much for listening. I hope you can understand our position.
Well, thank you both for your service as an educator, but also for the service on the community boards. We get so much useful information from members of the community who are willing to donate their time.
We do try to help everyone, no matter whose family is trying to build. We're asking you to come into the community thinking about what's best for the community.
Questions for Ms. Charles? Commissioner Deleuze.
Ms. Charles, thanks for being here. Since you mentioned that you and the community board aren't against development, but it's about ensuring that development is producing things that the community wants and needs, I'm wondering if you could share, or if the community board has shared with this development team, the top 2 or 3 things that the community board believes that are needed, and whether it's been shared with this development team or shared through other means, through a district needs statement, what some of that is, so that making sure that it's heard.
Well, I myself had, you know, knowing that the families are in the neighborhoods for years as well, and their best interest is to, you know, to stay there and be a part of the community, because the elders have passed on and the younger generation are here to, you know, to keep the family's business in the area. We've asked, you know, that they do provide some type of parking, which is necessary, and that even though they have a certain amount, maybe 16 slots, those slots would still be for those who work in that building and not for the community, but it's a first come, first basis, and that wouldn't be fair to the people in the community that lived there for so long. So now if there's more overcrowding, that the families are, and they don't have anywhere to go, but they feel that they are pushed out because they won't be able to handle the overflow of more high-rise buildings. Even if it's only 9 floors, the amount of apartments that are going to be coming in is kind of like a hardship for those who are already there. And wherever the other families who deserve a roof over their head would like to come in from, it's not where it's helping the seniors, the elders, the schools that are there as well. So I mean, there's in certain areas they have like buildings that have actually blocked certain window space. They make a cubicle, if there's a cubicle, and the way they build these apartments that's another address of where we're asking for them to build it to where you can put more besides just a twin bed and a dresser or things of that nature that I see that are coming up now, because I go visit these areas and it's alarming, because when back in our day the rooms were spacious, and if you're going to let us know how much money you're spending for the materials, the quality of the materials, and how these things are being, built. And you have a reasonable way of explaining why you're going to charge me $700,000 for a home or an apartment, then you have officially let us know that you went the whole 9 yards to build and appropriately to support the whole family and not just
Thank you.
to bring dollars.
Thank you, yeah, I mean, it seems like at least a piece of, what you're saying, the borough president, I think, tried to address in his recommendation.
I don't
In
know what
terms
the
of-
borough president did, but I know our community board did. So this is what we're asking for you to listen to. Anyone else?
Other questions for Ms. Charles? Again, thank you for your
Thank you
testimony.
so very much. We love family, and that's what we're trying to support. Thank you.
Those are the only people who have signed up to speak on this matter, but if there are others present who would want to be heard, now is the time.
Madam
Yes, the
Chair,
public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I have one quick question.
Oh, yes,
for
of
the
course, Commissioner
applicant.
Rumpenstein.
With regards to the applicant, the site plan, if they pull it back up for a second, the site plan we're looking at, I don't see the stairs or the ramp, so just for future reference, in case they resubmit, if they can please add that to the site plan.
Great, we'll pass that along and then address it in post-hearing follow-up.
Thank you. Sorry.
And with that, the public hearing is closed.
Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 23.